Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am one of your hosts, JT Matthews, at JTMatthews01 on the Twitter. And I'm here with the Dr. Nicholas Manning at DR_in Manning on Twitter.
Bam.
We did it. It's been a few weeks, a little rusty. We got through it. Holidays, all of that stuff is behind us. We're into the new year. How you feeling? How we doing? How did everything go? I think did we talk about Christmas already? I feel like we had maybe one. No, nothing.
No, because we ran right into New Year's and got soup spiz. So it was great. What is it? What is the thing that's going around?
Norovirus.
Yeah.
Norovirus.
Yeah. So I think we all had that. I had that on Christmas Eve. So that was great.
That's probably what Nicole said last night.
Yeah. Yep. It ain't no joke. He's gonna be out tonight too. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
for any of you who have had it. So was able to pull it together about 1 a.m. in time for Santa.
Yep.
Christmas, and then actually, I think it was probably one of my favorite Christmas. It
was a good Christmas. It was a good one for sure.
Yeah. So overall, great. Had a great one. Bounced back. Now we're back at it. Kids are back at school. Sports are starting up again this week for all the stuff. So it's fast and furious.
Yeah, back to kind of the routine, which is good. In a way. You know, we had a couple weeks. Kids were off school. Kind of did our thing. Took a little bit of time to relax. At least I took a little time to relax since I'm not coaching. That takes up a big part of my time. So not having to have all the sports and stuff was a nice little step back for me.
Yep.
And now we're gearing back up.
Now we're back. Yeah, it's interesting because it was like no sports over those 2 weeks really either, right?
Yeah.
And then everything's back this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, structure is good. I love my kids, but they need to do something else. And yeah, and sports has been good.
Yeah,
it's been good.
I think somehow we have 5 games on Saturday. Is it 5 or 4? I don't remember. Luke's got at least 2 basketball games and a soccer game. Bo's got basketball and soccer.
Yeah.
So that's 5 games this weekend. That's crazy.
That's a lot.
Already wishing we had another week of break. We'll move on. We're gonna we're gonna quickly dive into Avs and Nuggets real quick. Just kind of give a quick little summary of how the last few weeks have gone, how we're feeling about it, and then we're gonna dive way more in depth into this Bills Broncos matchup. Let's start with Colorado Avalanche. Seem to have found their groove. Mackenzie Blackwood has been really good in the net for them. I think you can kind of see the confidence that they're growing with him. And they're winning some games. And if they're not winning, they're taking it to overtime or if they're taking it down to the wire. The game against Buffalo a few weeks ago was a pretty amazing one. We're down 3-0 and ended up winning in overtime. They are feeling like potential front runners again, which is nice. And this is prior to the trade deadline. There's potentially more moves to make happen. Probably more depth moves if we're talking about the Avs. But how are you feeling about the Avs over the last couple weeks? And how are you feeling moving forward?
It's like, did any team identify and handle their weakness better than the Colorado Avalanche? They were like, man, goalie is a problem.
Yeah.
Both are gone, and we have 2 new guys. We already know he's going to be the man, so we're signing him to a 5-year deal, and all of us were like, I don't know if you should get to. And then Mackenzie Blackwood has been. So he already has more than half as many wins this season as an Avalanche than Gorgie did.
Yep.
Yeah, and like 3 times as many. Yeah. So I'm in love with it, man. And diving in a little bit more, didn't know how Mackenzie Blackwood lost his teeth. Took a wicked shot to the face, and then stayed in the game.
What? Oh, really?
Yeah, and played well. Like, what? What are we doing, man? I mean, hockey lads are different, though, right? Hockey lads are different.
True.
But it goes to show, right? They identified that it wasn't a defensive problem.
Right.
Like, I mean, too many times it's always like there's multiple links in the chain that are an issue. It's not just one. It's all that stuff. And they accurately identified, nope, it's a link in the chain, and it's a pretty big one. And instead of trying to figure it out, they did figure it out. To the point where both of them in that, and Wedgwood is out for a bit, but that 1-2 punch, that's as good as I've seen in here since Waugh and
yeah. David Abisher or something.
Yeah, I mean, yep, yeah, probably Abby. Yeah, that probably is the last. So it's a nice feeling now where it's, hey guys, go do what you do. We'll get you back here, and you're seeing what happens. I mean, they went from under 500 to middling 500 to 10 games above 500 and like that. So what's up, everyone? First, Richie Richie. First, Big Mike, what up?
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice feeling. It feels like they are where we expect them to be coming into this part of the season. I think there was some disappointment at the end of last season, but understanding that we were missing some key pieces, especially Nichushkin being a big defensive player for us, but also a goal scorer. Nice to kind of see them get healthy for the most part. They're still fighting a few injuries, but Druin's back. A few guys dinged up, but for the most part, you're getting your guys back in. I was sharing with you a couple of days ago that when I was looking at the goalie save percentage numbers on NHL.com or whatever, that I had looked. This was shortly after we got Mackenzie Blackwood. His save percentage was in top 5, just 5th. And then I looked for the Avs goaltenders, and I had to just keep looking. Got down to 40. I was used to Sandinen, and then we got down to 52 or 53, and that was Georgiev. And it was just like, oh yeah, maybe that was a good indicator that there was an issue with the goaltending. I mean, you can't put everything on the goaltending all the time. Save percentage is part of the picture. It depends on how the guys in front of you are playing. But also, they kind of go hand in hand when your defense doesn't trust you. They're pressing all the time. It creates a really tough atmosphere for them. It kind of takes the joy out of the game, I think, a little bit, to not have that confidence in your goaltender that, if you make a mistake, it's not going to end up in the back of the net. So I'm glad they made the move. I'm interested what they do moving forward. I think right now we're in the teeth of the season. They're playing well, so got a lot to look forward to as far as the Avs go.
Yeah, he's 5th in save percentage, 16th in goals against. But again, show me save percentage all the time. I mean, that's really what matters. And he's been phenomenal. You give us top 5 goaltending. I mean, and then they're going to be front runners. I mean, that's just how it's going to. If this team stays quasi-healthy, knock, with that kind of goaltending, right? And then good luck trying to see him in the playoffs. This team has been really you saw what happened. Give us Kemper and give us good enough goaltending, and Kemper and Frankie, and this team steamrolled to a championship. Not all the same pieces, but I do like. You like Drouin, you like Middlestat. I mean, they made some good moves. I think that we're probably going to have some direction with Gabe fairly soon, and so either Gabe comes back, soaks up some 4th line minutes, which would be a boon, or he shuts it down, and they can utilize that cap space to make a play for another impact somewhere if they want. So it's what a difference, man. It's, one key move. And here it is. I mean, Wedgwood, who has been a, career backup, has been lights out when he's gotten to play. So it's it feels good and where we would like to be at. So super excited about it for sure.
Yeah, just last thing on that is it's interesting how when you have a veteran group of guys, and I think that a lot of the Avs players are young still. However, you have a core of veteran guys that have won a championship. And that change in that goaltender room has just been, it feels right in a weird way. Like it feels kind of wrong to have done it the way that they did it, which is like, well, take a chance on a young guy that's not proven and have a young guy backing him up. It feels much better to have, maybe a young guy, but a proven guy in Mackenzie Blackwood, and then just a veteran behind him that is going to be reliable in those minutes. And like if you have had a bad game, we feel good about putting in to kind of stabilize things, right? It was kind of like any night, one or the other, you're not sure how it's going to go. So the feel in that room is a lot better. Feels more productive for the Avalanche moving forward, just from how that team is built.
Yeah, it's they went and got a ace, and it's like they just needed a guy to head up the front of the the front of the rotation, and you thought you were getting someone good, and I don't want to get too hyperbolic here. Who knows? It might come back to earth.
Yeah. I mean, anything could change, right?
Yeah, but I mean, early returns have been great, and I bet for him, right? So not only financial security, got a 5-year deal with one of the best organizations in sports, and especially in hockey. Like, you go from the Sharks to the Avs, like that, right? Like, yep, I like winning. I'm getting paid. Let's go. So I'm super excited about where the Avalanche are, and hope some other teams follow suit.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's transition to that team that may need to make some moves, or maybe not. We'll see. The Denver Nuggets played Boston last night, lost. No Nikola Jokic, no Aaron Gordon in that matchup. They were missing Derek White. I think they are tied. They're either tied for 5th or 4th now. Lakers lost last night, so I'm not exactly sure where things stand as of this morning. Dallas beating them. But I have mixed feelings on kind of where the Nuggets are right now. Primarily feeling like maybe we overreacted a little bit at the beginning of the season to some of the things that were going on, to some of the weirdness that's been in the locker room and in the front office with Malone and Cal Booth. Not to say that isn't real and it's not something that may impact this season going forward, but it feels like the guys are handling themselves on the court, and then that's kind of not really bleeding over too much into the locker room at the moment, which is nice. It was nice to see the Nuggets put up a bit of a fight last night. They had a chance in the fourth quarter before they just kind of got steamrolled down the stretch. But I think they were within 3 or maybe even 2 in the fourth quarter with about 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, I mean, it was tied. They had taken a 1-point lead at one point, and then just didn't have the horses. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of especially in championship caliber teams where you get a moral victory. But I think that was as close to getting one as not. So they are still in the 4 spot. But last minute, you're not going to have your MVP, right? Best player on the planet. I mean, that's an impact. And they, they came out, and I thought played with an attitude, played tough.
Yeah.
They just, shot for shot. Yeah. Celtics got some of the best shot makers in the NBA, and the Nuggets are missing the best one. And so, a couple missed shots, all of a sudden it goes from, tie game or a 2-point deficit to 8 to 10 pretty quick with the Celtics. And that the game just kind of got away, but they were in it toe to toe. There was a drive down the lane. I was, telling some college buddies, like, where Porter dunked on Porzingis. Yep. And in that moment I was like, don't ever trade him.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how I'll feel in a little bit, but it's like if MPJ just has like every once in a while in a game, he'll just turn the dog on.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a guy that's like 18, 8 and 3, I'll take that. It's more the like, are you going to dip down and do what needs to get done, regardless of who's on the floor with you? And that's the part that I think he's accepted that he's not the man and kind of faded. And so all of us are looking at the God-given talent that MPJ has and just like, there's another gear. I think to this point, he's been the second best player on this team this year. And he probably should be, right? Like when you look at how big he is, his shooting skill, what he's capable of, no disrespect to anyone else on the roster, but physically he's as gifted, if not more gifted than anyone else on the roster. And, get a little confidence and some green light. I'd rather him take a jumper than Aaron Gordon. And right now I'd rather him take a three than, anyone other than Jokic. So, yep. And so, you saw a little bit more aggressiveness with Christian Brown. Good. Sometimes you got to be willing to fail to succeed. And I think for him, he understands his role maybe too well. And so with Gordon out, with Jokic out, they got to play big boy minutes. Watson got to play some big boy minutes, had some huge impact. So I loved it. You know what? That was probably the only loss that I enjoyed watching that I can remember as of late. Where it's just, haymaker, like left, right, one of the best teams in the league. They weren't at full strength, but Derek White versus Jokic and Gordon, that's not even a comparison. And they were there, and that team is, the Celtics are going to be in the finals again. So you got to see where you're at. Now the big issue for this group is how do you keep it? So now you found your groove. I think now the team has gelled in the sense of like playing hard. Maybe Murray isn't threatened by Westbrook anymore and like they're really okay or whatever that was. Like you said, whatever we thought might be going on. It also helps when, Murray just doesn't suck. And I mean that in like when you have your max guys, you pay them a lot. They have to play the way you pay them, or, you don't have anyone else on the roster. Like Saric isn't going to cover up Jokic, right? And there's a financial gap with what you're expecting. And I think, you're seeing Murray start to get his legs under him. I think he played himself back into shape. I think when you're injured, regardless, you can do the treadmill or the elliptical all you want, but you're not in NBA shape, like dear God, like whatever that is. So I think we're seeing it. And I think I like what you said. We walked ourselves back from the ledge that we put ourselves on, front office and they just weren't playing well. And sometimes your shot's a little off. Sometimes, you got girlfriend issues or whatever, right? Like who knows what's going on with these guys. And it looks like it's settling. Looks like, again, the Westbrook addition, like I had stated it would be really good. You did not. You said it'd suck and the worst, but I, in my wisdom, I knew that if he came in, like I thought the conversations about Russ's demise, I think that dude's got bounce and quickness at 36 or like, I don't got that. But I just love it. So I really like where this team's at. I saw Strother get a little nasty yesterday. So it's a little bit of like, hey guys, like let's play with that. And maybe it's 5 less minutes a game, but play with it, keep it. And I think if they can do that, and especially kind of just slow and steady, right? Like keep gaining a little bit. Come April, May, they might be the 4th seed, but I wouldn't want to play them.
No. I don't think anyone. I mean, with Jokic,
no one wants to play.
No one wants to play Jokic just in general. But I think that the more,
especially a team that won the finals. They beat the Timberwolves. I mean, they were the 8th seed, but I think we all saw how good they were going to be. Right? They beat LeBron and AD, and that was at a time when they were playing as good as they've played. Right? Suns, shut your face. And then you go and you just slap up Jimmy Butler when that team is riding high, right? Just slayed the dragon and the Celtics. So outside of KCP, which I have not heard or seen a bunch of KCP highlights lately. So my assumption is he's probably they're probably doing all right over there, but we're not pining for him or Bruce Brown right now, right? It's just get your big dogs to play well, and this team will be kind of back at it. So excited for that. I think for sure. I think Jamal Murray playing better, averaging almost back up to 20 points a game. Last 10 over 20 points a game, almost 21 points a game. I wonder. Weird.
Right. Weird. Yeah, I think that last night was a good reminder that the way that they're using Russ is probably correct when Jokic is out there, when people are healthy. I don't think that Russ has the horses anymore to kind of be your starting point guard and the length of a game. However, I think he does things in those moments when he is out there with the starters that are beneficial, when he's out there with Jokic. That's kind of my takeaway. Last night in the stretch, we saw some bad turnovers. We saw some moments. Not the game on him. It's a team effort. I don't think I weren't clicking for sure down the court. Offensively, they got stops, but then they were found. There were other things that go into that. However, it's a good reminder that, Russ is an impact player. I think when you get into trouble with him is when you try to overplay him. And I think now it's what they're doing is fine, right? What they're doing, it's regular season games. It's two of your superstars, your starting guys are hurt. One's your superstar. Let's infuse as much energy into this lineup as we can, and putting Russ at the starting point is probably the best way to do that. But also just kind of a reminder for me, okay, 6 man coming off the bench, maybe closing out some games, depending on the matchups and how his intensity is on defense, especially, is probably where you want him, right? It's not to belittle Russ or taking anything away from what he's done so far, but just kind of having him back in that starting lineup with playing the amount of minutes that he did. It was kind of a reminder for me that probably the way that they are putting him out there and the minutes that he's getting is probably the right way to do that versus having him have to play a number of minutes starting in the starting lineup.
Yeah, you need him to be at the top of his powers, and I think that you don't want to oversaturate that. And I also think that works well when other guys are, Peyton Watson, when those guys are effective in their minutes. And then I think you can be much more strategic for if I'm Michael Malone and how I utilize guys. I can use them in their best spots versus I got to use them because the other guys are terrible. So I think we're starting to see that. I think the team is gelling about where they're, and Malone's feeling a little bit more comfortable about where to play guys, get a little feel for stuff. I think when AG comes back and Jokic is back, obviously, I think that will be really an interesting dynamic of now you have all of your horses. How do you effectively, they got to have enough minutes to get a good feel. You don't want too many because you want those minutes to be effective, and you want guys to complement each other on the floor. So how they do that, and are the guys bought in? And I think that part will be determined soon. And I think that part will be the part the Avalanche figured out. They figured out what their issue was. They fixed it. So the Nuggets, I think, they're not going to be able to make a really, really big move unless they trade Porter Jr. And right now, I think he's playing his way into not going anywhere. Right?
Yeah, I would agree.
So in doing so, then it's got to be an internal fix or a small fix. And with that, that a ton of it, I think, is they have the talent on the roster to be a big problem in a good way. So we shall see. So see what Big Mike does.
Big Mike. Let's transition to some Broncos talk. That's what we came here for. Broncos, your Denver Broncos.
That's both.
Made the playoffs for the first time since 2015, I believe.
2015 season. Yep. Super Bowl 50. I still got a little high right now.
Yeah.
Not real Colorado, but not right now.
Right.
It's when you and I broke down the schedule, I think we thought this team could be better than than most. I actually think, did we land on 10-7?
I think one of us did. I'm not sure if it was you or me. I may have been 9.
Yeah, I think I was 10.
I was probably the less optimistic
That's
of the
true.
two, so it probably would trend towards you making
It's me. It was me. I've been wrong the last several years, and so I'm not gonna pretend like I'm prophetic, but I think the schedule lined up, and I think it played out that way. Essentially, they beat the bad teams.
Yeah.
Struggled against the good teams, which would make sense about them being the 7th seed, right?
Right.
I think if the Bengals game is at a neutral site or played in Denver, I think they win that game. Cincinnati is the 8th best team. Yep. That seems about right now. They were playing really well at the end of the season, but it's a 18-week, 17-game season, and all the games count. They lost to the Patriots. The Broncos didn't lose to such teams like that. So here we are. We got here. We weren't sure how we were going to get here, but we did. And I don't think I'm going to get my extra stamp of Bo Nix Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think that's going to go to Jaden Daniels. But the rookie winning AFC Player of the Week twice, AFC Rookie of the Month 3 times. So how he's not going to win the total award when 4 out of the 5 months or 3 out of the 4 months. Things lined up the way that you hope that they would, but probably a year earlier than I think all of us would have planned it to be. And and here we are. It's are you excited enough that they're in the playoffs to override being a little disappointed that if they go for 2 in Cincinnati, beat Kansas City like they were gonna, I don't care who's gonna play, the Broncos are gonna win that game. They're the 5 seed.
Right.
Or they beat, they finished the deal with the Chargers, all the ifs. So I'm actually at the place of I'm just excited for Sunday, that I am not if they would have got, I think they would have beat the brakes off of Houston if they go to Houston. But still, I think you run into Baltimore, or in the end you're gonna run into one of those, whether it's now or later. And so I'm not mad. If we would have lost or we would have missed out, I would have been a little pissed.
Sure. I'm at a place where I'm totally fine with it, and I love obviously that it felt like we kind of backed our way into the playoffs. That doesn't feel necessarily great. However, we're talking about a rookie quarterback with a coach that is throwing a lot at him. We're talking about a defense that is achieved by a lot of people's standards, not necessarily locally, but nationally. There's been so many points of growth that I think that, in totality, I think it happened the way it's supposed to. It happened. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be seamless. There are going to be moments that you look back and say, man, those opportunities that were snatched away from us, whether that was because we didn't show up and do what we were supposed to do, or whether the other team just outplayed us.
Yeah.
Those are all growing points, especially for a young team. This is a young roster. It's a lot of youth on the field at any given time. And so, to have those kind of heartaches, those missed opportunities, those will resonate with that group. And I think that at the end of the day, that it would have been nice to get the 5th overall seed. I think that we would have a great chance against Houston, especially with how that offensive line is or has been this season. But where we are, where we're supposed to be, and I think we've got an opportunity to make this game competitive, if not pull it out. So we'll get into that a little bit. I want to kind of just ask you a few questions, before we get into the matchup about this season in general. What was kind of the biggest surprise for you with this team as we have kind of round into the playoffs here? What was kind of the biggest surprise player, group, whatever kind of first comes to mind for you?
Oh, I think if I were to group them, I'd say by season's end the passing offense. I think, especially when you looked at Bo Nix didn't throw his first touchdown pass till week 4.
Yeah,
and then ended up with 29, which Second ever for a rookie behind Herbert. Finished with like 34 total. His ability to put the ball in there, and to be honest with you, the pass catchers to be able to kind of round into form what Marvin Mims has done over the past several weeks. If you watch the first half of the season, you would not have predicted that Marvin Mims would be a huge impact player. I think that one is a very huge positive. I think he is a guy that has a dynamic skill set that's really hard to duplicate. He's speed on speed, super strong with the ball. Has a ton of the makings of kind of a poor man's Tyreek Hill, and I think you got a guy like that plus a true leader and a go get the ball like Sutton, and then the development of Devon Vele. It's a pretty nice 1, 2, 3 of guys that, to be honest with you, like you weren't expecting a ton. That the floor hopefully to be raised a little bit, but when Tim Patrick got cut, you didn't have a ton of faith in like, oh, this is going to be a group that's really going to be able to put up some good numbers as the season went on. You have a 1,000-yard receiver in Cortland Sutton. At times the tight end group was able to participate, maybe more than they have in some years past. So I think the passing offense in general, I think, was my positive, especially because of how brutal it started. That Pittsburgh game, atrocious, followed by the Jets game, atrocious. And then really from like week 4 to the end of the season, it was the strength of the offense and sometimes the strength of the team. So I think that was my big one. If I were to pick a player outside of Bo Nix, because I think that's one that we'll be able to do.
Sure.
I mean, I think what Riley Moss was able to do and mean to this team, outside of really one game, coming back against the Bengals and, Joe Burrow, who's first in touchdowns, first in yards, like just mind-boggling, but still not a great offensive line. That really, I think, allowed this defense to do a lot of really cool and dynamic stuff. So I think that one was my surprise. None of us really knew what to expect. I mean, essentially last year was his redshirt year. We didn't really see him play defense, so there really wasn't a lot to go off of. So if I were to pick a player, I think that was my surprise. I think for group, the receiving, the passing offense, I think as a group, that to me was my biggest positive surprise, especially kind of in-season development with where it went. What about you?
Yeah, I think probably I would lean towards Riley Moss as well being my top one, just because, like you said, we didn't really get an opportunity to see what he could do. Obviously the front office and coaching staff liked him. That's why he was selected where he was in the draft, and it was kind of expected to kind of fill that role. But you just never know what you're going to get with the young DB. And so it was kind of where I was most concerned about this defense kind of at the beginning of the season. I think it's pretty well documented that I was worried about the secondary and how they were going to play and how they were going to perform. And so just kind of, it hasn't been flawless by any means, but that unit has played above where I expected them to play. And Riley Moss is a big part of that. To pick something different, I'll go with Nick Benito. I think we all had hopes that Nick Benito would turn into something. I think that there were obstacles that we kind of found along the way that maybe were unfounded about his size and his ability to pass rush. He's just a speed guy. I mean, he's shown to be much more than that. He's shown to be opportunistic. He's shown to be strong against guys that are a lot bigger than him. He's shown to be good in coverage, and just his ability to turn the ball over has been huge for this team down the stretch, especially. I think we expected the defense to kind of that it has, as far as it kind of being more of a group effort than a few guys outside of Pat Surtain. But his ability to kind of just take over stretches of games and turn games around for this Broncos defense has just been, it's been really admirable. It's been really exciting to watch. And it's just an indicator that he's going to get better and better to me. It's something that at his age, you're not even quite to your prime yet. You've got a lot of things to work on still, and a lot of ways to be more impactful. But I think that more experience, some playoff experience, some ability to have some confidence in the guys next to him behind you, it's huge, man. It's huge. And just to see him kind of bloom throughout the season and kind of grow into the player that he has been really exciting to watch, and really thrilling for those of us who like that draft pick, especially had some hope that it would develop. It's maybe even gone to another level this season that wasn't necessarily expected just due to previous season's numbers.
Yeah, I thought that he could improve. I mean, he had 8 sacks last year.
Yeah,
and with Cooper, but with Barron coming back, I mean, he didn't know how it was really going to go, and Nick Benito has been, I mean, obviously, right, votes for All Pro. He's a Pro Bowler. I think 2 return touchdowns, interception and a fumble that he caught in the air. It's fine. Wow. Right. Just, I mean, the impact plays even wasn't just sacks. It's pressures. It's stopping the run. Like you said, his ability to be able to be the player that the team hoped that he would be when they drafted him. Right. Especially after a really rough first season.
Yeah.
Which, people thought he was a bust, and kind of those influences for him to get to a place where he's an integral part in what this team will do moving forward, I think was absolutely breath of fresh air. You lock up Cooper, you move on from Browning to give him another opportunity to go, and you don't miss a beat with Nick kind of just taking over as the man. I think that was a smart move. It worked out, and I think hopefully we have our next great Bronco pass rusher and first double-digit sack guy since 2018. I think for the Broncos, plus 2 touchdowns. Got to work on his touchdown dances, but really, really positive, really positive. You got some stars now on both sides of the ball, some young stars, and I think it's just a refreshing place to be for sure.
For sure. Let's jump into the matchup a little bit then. Let's talk about Broncos game plan going into the game. I just kind of want to get your feelings and thoughts. Let's talk about offensively first. What do you think the Broncos need to do on the offensive side of the ball to disrupt the Buffalo Bills and give ourselves an opportunity to put some points up?
Yeah, I've heard it throughout. I think Alex asked a really good question. Do we have a better matchup than maybe we're getting credit for? I think so, in the sense that our defense has found a way to, I think, to impact games regardless of how the the opposing offense kind of enters, or what their strengths are. And so our strength is getting to the quarterback. Buffalo's strength is keeping Josh Allen clean. He's the least sacked quarterback in the NFL this year. I think losing a total of like 63 yards in sacks, 12 sacks, if I recall. But really, this team has not had an issue getting there. And I think being able to do that within what this team wants to do, right? So they're not going to overexert themselves to be able to get to Josh Allen any more than they would normally, right? That's going to be an aggressive defense. And then when you have the NFL's best cornerback, really, it's going to be a luxury of how to use him, because they don't really have a alpha receiver. So I think you can play a little bit of chess there. I think you can move around and use Pat in some different ways. So I think the matchup is better. I think it's going to be a really good competitive game. I think Buffalo, because of their offense, this game could turn one-sided for sure. But they also defensively aren't good against the run. So it's I think that right now, if I'm Denver, I think that you do what you've done. You do what you've done. Maybe throw a couple wrinkles in there, but you go out the way that you want to go out. and they are playing with house money. And so offensively, I would be super aggressive in how I do stuff. I would be willing to run the ball. Audric Estime, we've been calling for that for a while. Jaleel, let's utilize that in some play action. Their defense isn't as good as it has been. And I think, if you were able to put some pressure on Josh Allen and the Bills, I mean, they have never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They have been there 4 times. They're now the 5-time reigning AFC East champion and have not been to a Super Bowl since 1993.
Yeah.
So, part of that is this organization hasn't won it yet. They haven't been a Super Bowl caliber team. And I mean that. And they haven't gotten there. And some of that, in my opinion, is, that's learned culture. And if you give this team some stuff to think about, they tighten up a little bit. Josh Allen might throw one to you.
Yeah.
A lesser Bronco team went into Buffalo and won last year. And I think this is a much better version of the Denver Broncos going in there this year. So that's my game plan. I think you let out all the wrinkles, and you play with that house money, and if they beat you, they're going to beat you on your terms, not theirs.
Yeah. If we're talking offensive game plan versus Buffalo's defense, I just want to see a hyper aggressive attacking offense. I just want to see them throwing the ball down the field. Obviously, getting guys open doesn't not necessarily having to throw the ball down the field all the time, but pushing the ball down the field and creating opportunities for yourself to get chunk plays, to score, to get in scoring distance. I think they have to be aggressive against the defense. I think that it's important for them to do so, especially early on. Set a tone for the game. If you don't do that, then you're asking below you at. I think you've got to really go after it. That means trick plays. That means making that team work on the defensive side of the ball to figure out what you're going to do next. You can't be predictable. You can't throw underneath all the time, right? You've got to be able to give some variance to that play calling. So offensively, I would say let's have some design runs for Bo Nix, even though that hasn't really been the MO lately. Let's try and get some balls up to Cortland Sutton and Devon Bailey. Let them use their size. High point the ball somewhere down the field. Let's get Mims in single coverage if we can and try and get the ball to him. I think there are things that this offense can do to kind of keep that defense on their heels. And if they're able to do that, it gives them a good opportunity. I don't know how much we can rely on the running game from our back typically. I think that it's something that they've got to kind of feel it out as the game goes. I don't want them to get away from the running game by any means, but I think you've got to find creative ways to make that work, right? It's not going to just be as simple as lining up in the trenches all the time. It's just not. This is playoff football. This is extra time to prepare for your opponent. As much film as you can get in, as much game planning as you can. You're going to have to find ways to be creative offensively and pull out the plays that you've had in your back pocket, since the beginning of the season. Especially around goal line, in those goal line situations. Something that isn't run the ball up the middle or have Bo in the play with his legs. It's going to take a concerted effort, and it's going to take everyone kind of clicking on Hollanders. You can't make mistakes. You've got to go attack, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. I think, really. So Josh Allen is the least sacked quarterback in the NFL. I think that's a product of Josh Allen, not his offensive line. You look at PFF. No, only Connor McGovern, their center, is within in the top 20 of their position, top 30 actually. And so if just utilizing that for scope, they're also going to be out Amari Cooper, most likely, who's going through some stuff. Sending you the best, man. Don't want people missing games because they got family stuff or whatever's going on. But with that, there really is like you said, I think an opportunity to just kind of unload the clip and be creative and be the kind of offensive, especially offensive and defensive geniuses that so far to the season, right? Like there was one dud, and that was Baltimore. And really, if Garrett Bowles doesn't hold and Bo Nix gets that touchdown, I don't think they win that game, but it's significantly different.
Yeah,
in terms of, that really is the only game that they weren't in. And so, they left a few out there, but they've been competitive in every game, and I wouldn't expect this to be any different. So if they go out and do what they've done, you add a couple wrinkles to give Buffalo something that they haven't game planned for, especially if they work. And like I said, if you create doubt going into the second half of a team that will play tighter, then, right? The Broncos aren't expected to win. I don't think and I don't think any of us are going to be upset if they don't. I think we, for the most part, understand what the season was. It's been a success. We really are. How good would it feel if we win? Right. That's the conversation that I'm having. If I'm in the Denver locker room, it'd feel pretty great. Right. And what that would do for the city, what it would do for the direction of the organization. So let's leave it all out there. Right. Like, don't look at the play sheet and be like, oh, could have used, or maybe. No, that if a double reverse pass doesn't work, Sean, you'll be okay. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to be, it's different if you're the 1 seed, right? And you're Kansas City. I think you got to trust that you're the better team the whole time, right? Et cetera, et cetera. But you're the 7 seed, and rightfully so. Buffalo throughout the season was a better team than you. But it doesn't mean that on Sunday that they won't be for that 60 minutes. I like your comment about they got to feel out the run. I think that's I think that it can't be Pat Shurmur, right? Second 10 after an incomplete screen pass, and you just hand it off up the middle. You got to get guys moving, get creative with it. Kind of what they did against the Browns last year. Browns defense came in really, playing really, really well, and they trapped them the entire game. Right. And so it was something that the Broncos hadn't really shown a ton, and that because of the alignment, the Browns were pretty susceptible to. And the Broncos gashed them all game, ran up and down the field on them. I think there's opportunities like that. I think if I'm going to take my coaching power index on like Sean Payton's ability to offensive scheme, Sean McDermott's ability to defensive scheme, Sean Payton's a better coach.
Yeah.
So, it's that, like, all right, I'm going to trust that, but also I trust it because I expect to see it, not I trust it because you've earned it kind of thing, right? Like you said, feel it out, utilize the short pass game. I think the bubble screens have been really good at backing up the defense in the sense of if you play tight and your corner gets clipped, that's a 12-yard run. And I mean clipped, blocked, not clipped back. Right. But that's an extension of the run game, right? Handoff, throw, ball goes 1 to 3 yards down, and those things are helpful. Especially then, they got to figure out how to line it up. Maybe they run a lighter box, and in doing so, you're able to run a little bit more. And I think that creativity, feeling it out, kind of playing with the flow of it and the rhythm. I think the Broncos will score some points. Buffalo's defense isn't lights out. Even Von Miller, who's playing phenomenal, is essentially a pass rush specialist this season.
Yeah.
And so their safeties, like you said, be willing to take shots. Their safeties aren't that great. We were watching the game together on Sunday. Leave some of those balls up. Like, let our guy go get it. Don't try to be perfect and lead him out there where it's got to hit him in the hands on the run. Marvin showed he can go get it at 5'11". Court will go get it. I've deemed him the 70-30 god. It's not 50-50 with Court. And so offensively, I think playing to that strength. I think defensively, I think you got to bring the house, man. I think you got to look at, right? So I don't know if Shakir is going to play. I heard he's on the injury list. I'm going to assume he's going to play, though. But really, outside of like him and Curtis Samuel, you don't have a bunch of guys that are going to break a slant 80 yards. So you got to trust that our guys are going to be able to get there and tackle. And in doing so, confuse them a little bit, right? Back end, we've done this quite a bit this season. Vance has done a good job of man on one side, zone on the other, not indicating where the pressure is going to go. Hopefully, he's calling Wade Phillips, and his predecessor, and help me out. Make sure that we're disguising it as well as we can. I think Josh will throw the Broncos a couple. I don't know that we'll capitalize on all of them, but I have no doubt that the Broncos will at least get one turnover and probably two. If they can dictate and they can capitalize on those opportunities, I think they can be successful. I think it's one of those where either this game will really tilt in Denver's favor because defensively they're dictating, they're kind of punching also, or to get out of hand, right? Just they'll hit a couple bombs and all that stuff. But Josh Allen was one with nickel and diming this year, and I don't want to go out like that.
No,
I don't want to watch him. They must rush him, and he Joe Burrows us for 450. Nope. Like, bring it. If they get over the top on us, so be it. But I guarantee they're going to throw a couple to us also if we can play with that aggression, which this team has done all season. So it's a little like, our strength is your strength, man. And you know what? It's a good barometer too to see where this team's going to be at. And that would be my all chips on the on the table defensively. What about you?
Yeah, I have a bit of mixed feeling about it. So I think really you've got to key in on the run. I think that's got to be kind of the biggest key for the Broncos. I think I heard that the Bills had 32 rushing touchdowns this season, something like that, which is pretty absurd. Cook has been a great back for them. He's been really productive. He's been really effective in his not just running the ball, but catching the ball also. So I think that's a guy you have to key in on. I like being aggressive. I like the idea of like letting our strength be our strength. At the same time, I think you have to key in on that run, and I think that means that you have to win a lot of 4 and 5 guy fronts. Like I don't think you can rush all out blitz all the time. I think you have to pick and choose, and I think you've got to have really sound defensive line play. I think you've got to be able to contain a little bit. And that means maybe we're not going balls to the wall every time we're out there.
Sure.
It's going to be
blitzing and bring. I don't mean bring 6.
Sure.
I mean disguising stuff, allowing your guys to get one-on-ones. Essentially, our one-on-ones are better than their one-on-ones.
Right.
Take John Franklin Myers against any of their guards. Sure. Take Zach Allen against any of their interior offensive linemen. I'll take Nick Bonito and John Cooper against their tackles. So I think Spencer Brown's a good player. He's a big dude. Deion Dawkins is a good pro. But again, right, in the NFL, if there's 62 snaps and I get 2 sacks, I win. Right? Like that's all it takes. And this group will get there. My biggest worry is bringing him down. It's not getting there. And so the problem is if you get there, right, because it's man on the back end or whatever, and he shrugs you off and he gets 2 more seconds, that's when we're in trouble. So it's a little bit like you got to capitalize when you get there, make the play.
Yeah.
Josh Allen puts on that cape. And I think the same goes in the run game. Like, I think if you sign him early, you get there, you bring Cook down early on. I think that they'll lean away from the run game. I think what makes them more dynamic is Josh Allen. He has 12 rushing touchdowns. Yep. So they have 32. Yeah. He has 12 of them. So you take him out. They're still a good running team, but they're not a downhill, hand the ball off, put it down your throat. So I think we're going to stop. I think you want to eliminate the run game on the way to Josh Allen a little bit. Is like, if Cook gets 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, to me, I don't know that that's bad.
Sure.
That's probably 15 less passing opportunities than for Josh Allen, which probably means that they only score in the 20s. If they score in the 20s, I think the Broncos got a shot. I think if he throws for 400, I know that they're in the 30s, and I know that you like all that stuff. I think it's hard because it's, you got to pick your poison a little bit, and you don't want to get beat on both ends of the sword. You think that Josh Allen's going to have a good game. But I think I go in with, he won't beat us, or you know what I mean? Like, then yep, you're gonna have to throw it to Dawson Knox and Matt Collins then, and that's how you're gonna have to beat us with those guys. We're gonna, anytime that someone more dynamic, we're gonna key on Cook and we're gonna key on Coleman. We're the dynamic big play guys. Like, nope. Like, you're gonna have to good luck trying to get Matt Collins open on a consistent basis against Riley. And if they do, then you know what? Chalk it up to you. Nice job. All that kind of stuff. I think we got to minimize Superman. And I think our kryptonite right now is we're able to get there better than anyone else in the league. So I think we got to get there, but we got to get there. Like, you can't design these things and our guys not able to win the one-on-one matchups, because I don't think you can bring 6-7 on a consistent basis. Like, that's just a recipe for disaster. He's too big and too strong. I'd rather do that against Joe Burrow, which, like, if you get to Joe, he's going down. And Josh Allen's freaking Cam Newton, right? Like, that needs a Hulk. So I agree with you. I think, like, you can't throw the kitchen sink. You got to disguise stuff. But I think you got to play the game that you've played, because I think it's what makes you good. I think if they get too cute, right, they try and play off and rush 3 and go 8, man, like, why? Like, don't, that's just not, we haven't shown that we can be that adept. I don't feel that good about Locke, PJ being back there and being able to do that. Riley, I don't know if he's all the way back. Our inside linebackers, like Richie Rich said, they have come back down to earth. Yeah,
probably the weakness of this defense, if you have to designate one, for sure.
Yeah, and I think one that will make me a concern. That's why it's a little bit of, I don't want him dicing up the middle of the field. So in doing so, we can't let him have enough time to get there, right? I think we got to try and force him to throw the ball. I think we got to play middle field close. You got to beat us on the hashes. If it's cold, maybe you won't grip it as well a couple throws, just like last year. And we got a couple, just like last year. So I like it. I'm excited. I think that this matchup is going to be fun. One, because I think Buffalo's a good team. I don't think that they got any favors. I don't think that the Chargers, who, in my opinion, should win that game. They were the betting favorite going into Houston. Team has struggled, a whole bunch of injuries, all that good stuff. It's not hard to play in Houston. Buffalo, East Coast, 11 a.m. on a Sunday. It's going to be 20 with a chance of snow. All of that is like, it's Buffalo, right?
And you'd think it would favor the defense over the offense, that weather, even though they are accustomed to playing in that weather. So I don't want to overstate.
They are, and Josh Allen is accustomed to playing in that weather. Yeah. Like, the guys, they routed the 49ers, mind you. Like, the 49ers aren't who they could have been, but they still had Christian McCaffrey in the snow game, and they didn't want any part of Buffalo in that game. So if there's a team that will relish playing in that crap, right? It's Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, and it's the Bills. Yeah, everyone else hates it. Like, none of us. I played in those games. Terrible. I don't like, that's football weather. Shut up. You don't like it.
Football weather in Miami seems preferable.
Like, I'll take cool. Give me 40.
Yeah, sure. Temperate
with the sun.
All right. Well, let's make some predictions then. You want to go first? Or want to go first?
No, I want you to go first. I still your gusto too much sometimes, and
no, it's not right. I think ultimately it's a big hill to climb. I'll say that. Not to say that the Broncos can't. I actually think that they have an opportunity to win this game. But I think that it's going to have to be, you're going to have to play your best football, the best football you've played all season, and that's not always necessarily the case when you get to the playoffs. Sometimes you get a good matchup. Sometimes you, someone backs into a playoff spot because the teams below them are no good. I don't think that this is the case with Buffalo, and I think that they are at kind of the height of their power, so to speak. So I think you've got to play clean, mistake-free football. You just have to have a shot. I think there's a possibility that they could pull it out. However, I'm going to pick the Broncos to lose this one. And part of that is just being a young roster. Part of that is, are you surprised by this at all?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Unpredictable, if nothing else.
Yeah. Hey,
I just
logical too, so it's not. Yeah.
sure.
Good.
It's a young roster, and I think that there are going to be some opportunities for this team to grow throughout the course of this game. There's going to be some moments where we're not going to look as formidable as we hope we are. I'm going to give the Bills a 32-21 victory. I think. Yeah, going okay with it. A lot of field goals.
I like it.
I think that they are. I think we are a year or two away from being noisemakers in the playoffs. I don't know about I don't want to say contenders yet, just because there are a lot of pieces that we still need to fill out on this roster. But I think that they are in a position where, again, like you said, there's nothing to lose. They should be as confident as they've ever been going into this game, especially even though it was the backups against Kansas City. You shut them out, as you should. Yeah. Your offense clicked on all cylinders as you were hoping that it would. Mm-hmm. And so you're walking into a nice scenario where it's not necessarily a great matchup for Buffalo. You've got probably the coaching advantage, and you've got a really young group of guys that believe in themselves, and I think that there's a chance. But ultimately, I think it's probably not quite for Denver to surf this obstacle.
Yeah, I think you are the rational. Hey, we're both rational. You are more rational than me.
Sure.
I think all of those things make sense. It's the Buffalo is a team I could see winning the Super Bowl. The Broncos, it's kind of like maybe the Bengals from a couple of years ago, right? When Joe Burrow was really starting to, Jamar Chase, but they were pretty flawed still, and they just got on a heater. I think that the Broncos are more of that team than a team that I really feel can match up with anybody. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that they have a team that matches up really well with Baltimore. I don't think, I don't think playing Buffalo, 10 times out of 10 times that they would be a team that this would be a great matchup for them because of how Josh Allen plays. That said, the Broncos are the second, in yards per carry against, right, rushing defense in yards per carry. The Bills are back half at about 4.5 yards a carry. I think the fact that isn't the Broncos' strength, but when they get it going, this team is pretty dynamic on offense. A quarterback that next to Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson is kind of in that next tier, maybe even a tier by himself. Bo Nix is a very plus athlete, which I have been saying the entire time.
That's true.
People. I think the Broncos are going to win. Here's why. One, I think that the grip on the Bills is real. I think that is a team that feels the pressure. I think Sean McDermott, for whatever way, shape, or form, I don't know anything about him as a person. Sure. As a coach, he just seems to fumble the bag. I think that the Broncos will empty it out, and I think in doing so, you're going to kind of see the best coaching from Sean Payton, right? He's onside kick and the Super Bowl guy, right? I think you're going to see that version of him in this, so I think you're going to get the best version. I think Bo Nix is playing well, and I think this team really believes, and they have the entire time, that they are a really good football team. All of us are catching up to a little bit. We hoped they would be, but we didn't believe that they were. And I think from them, Mike McGlinchey talked about, we knew we were a good team when we had the combined practices with the Packers. Right? Yeah. They were a Super Bowl contender, a good betting favorite. They were a team that was, a play away from playing in the NFC Championship game last year to the eventual, representative, and we handed it to them for 2 straight days, right? And we knew, all right. And that was then, and here we are. I think also the weather, even though it doesn't sound great, isn't going to be a problem for the game. It's not going to be cold, wet, slick, freezing rain like the Jets game. So I think it's going to be kind of similar-ish to the Bengals game, and Bo Nix looked pretty damn good against the Bengals. And so, and I think with Riley coming back and playing his way out of the rust last week and the week before, you have a really good secondary against a really average group of receivers, really talented quarterback, average group of receivers. I think we're going to get a good defensive performance similar to the one that we saw against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, in my opinion, are kind of they're much better defensively, all that stuff. But a quarterback who wins similarly, can extend plays, all that good stuff. Really dynamic tight end, Dalton Kincaid, those kind of things. And the Broncos really obviously should have won that football game in Kansas City after getting waxed by Baltimore. So they were a team that has had some resolve. So would I put my mortgage on this bet? No, probably.
Sure.
I think Buffalo should be a Super Bowl representative. And I think if there were a year, I think should be this year. But I think if there were a time where they wouldn't want to play the 7 seed, it's when the 7 seed is going this way. And they're kind of like, all right, we got to it's business now, right? There's just not a lot of buzz for me for them. It kind of seems like just all the pressure sitting there. And I think until this team shows me it's different, I'm not going to bet on that it is. I'm not going to bet that Buffalo is a different team. They seem to play down to their competition at times. I was there last year in Orchard Park and watched it firsthand. How many times are you going to give the Broncos the game? Oh, every time. And I think that this is a less talented roster than last year's. So, so I think Broncos are going to win. I think they're going to win 27-24. I think that they're going to hang around long enough for the Bills to make some mistakes. That said, I also could see this game going 31-10 and the Broncos losing and really hinging on, similar to Baltimore, when you got a big play to make, you got to make it and it's got to count. No stupid holding penalties randomly, all that stuff. And so I'm gonna pick the Broncos to win. Maybe it's a heart pick, maybe it's a brain pick, maybe it's a heart brain pick. We'll find out.
We will find out. Well, thank you everyone for being here, listening in today, and joining us. What you came looking for today, and just joining us. Thank you. We're gonna take off. We will see you next week, hopefully after the Broncos victory. But thanks. You can catch us on Twitter. And remember, if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor.
For sure.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.